What we like. Just over a year into our test of the Subaru Impreza, the 30,000 malaise has set in, and positive logbook comments have grown few and far between. What praise there has, at least, been consistent. Way back at 12,000 miles, associate online editor Greg Fink declared the Impreza's Starlink system seriously one of the best touchscreen infotainment systems in the business. While 18,000 miles later the bloom has fallen off the rose for many editors, Fink stands firm. Is there a better overall infotainment system available today? He ponders. His affection is not misplaced. The Impreza's touch controls are large and easy to pinpoint while driving, and the menu setup is simple. It even did well in our test of touchscreen response times, earning a good rating while several competitors managed only poor. For even deeper coverage of the Impreza, view our buyer's guide in-depth review. We like driving much better than we like fiddling with even the best touch screens. However, and after a particularly snowy Michigan winter, we can now faithfully attest to this subby's prowess when the going gets slippery. Buyer's Guide senior editor Rich Seppos drove the Impreza to Wisconsin during a snowstorm and came away impressed by the unflappability of Subaru's famous all-wheel drive system, abetted by a set of excellent Michelin-size winter tires. This steely confidence in the face of adversity has become Subaru's hallmark of late. It's not unusual to hear Michiganders in search of a new car say that a Subaru is the only brand they will consider. Never mind that virtually any all-wheel drive car, or two-wheel drive car, for that matter, with decent winter tires and functional ABS and traction control systems would perform similarly well. Safety in bad weather is now a cornerstone of the Subaru mystique, and after what seemed like an interminable winter regularly punctuated by blizzards or blizzard-like events, we can't argue with owners' sense of security. The Impreza is entirely unshakable in inclement weather. Which brings us to what we don't like. The Impreza is too good in the snow. Or, rather, not good enough at playing in the snow. Here's some more context from Seppos' Wisconsin adventure. It's virtually impossible to have any fun behind the wheel of the Impreza, even on snow. You can do full throttle launches on the white stuff with no wheel spin. Uck. That uck was echoed by Josh Jacquot, reviews editor and owner of a Subaru Impreza 2.5 RS race car, who took our Impreza to a snowy cul-de-sac in hopes of ripping off a few donuts and came away dejected after his young daughter said that she had preferred the previous week's joyride in an Audi A4. What went wrong? After 11 almost entirely trouble-free months, the Impreza has begun to feel the effects of age. At around 26,000 miles, people began to notice a slight rocking in the driver's seat. A trip to the dealer validated our concerns, and the seat bottom assembly and both driver's side seat rails were replaced under warranty. Shortly after the seat was fixed, a high-pitched whining noise developed. One driver thought the sound was coming from the vac fan motor, another referred to it as unspecified driveline noise, but virtually everyone who drove the Impreza during this period complained. A trip back to the dealer showed a worn wheel bearing in the left rear wheel. The dealer had the parts on hand and seemed somewhat less than surprised to discover the problem, which was fixed under warranty. In the time since our last update, the Impreza has also had 2 oil changes, a tire rotation, and received new cabin and engine air filters as part of its regularly scheduled maintenance, which cost $119 for one visit and $108 for the other. And we ditched the winter tires for Yokohama all seasons in late February, just in time for a late-season snowstorm to drop several more inches of heavy snow on the upper Midwest. Yes, the car did fine. Where we went, winter makes homebodies of us all, and the Impreza hasn't traveled far afield since it returned from its sojourn in Montana. Trips to Wisconsin, northern Indiana, and Ohio helped add miles, but we look forward to longer journeys as summer road trip season approaches. There's a new Midwesterner at our Ann Arbor offices, and it's not a product of the Big Three. The vehicle in question is the progeny of Japan but hails from the state that bills itself the crossroads of America, brags that it's the country's second largest producer of popcorn, and is the site of Abraham Lincoln's boyhood home, Indiana. We've taken ownership of a brand new Subaru Impreza hatch, nutch, and we're holding on until the clock hits 40,000 miles. The Impreza is new from stem to stern this year. Even the bones are different, as this is the first car to use Subaru's new global platform architecture. The Impreza's sole engine is a 152 horsepower 2.0-litre flat-4, newly direct injected for 2017 in an upgrade that adds 4 horsepower over the previous model. A 5-speed manual is still the base transmission, while a continuously variable automatic is optional. All-wheel drive remains standard. Subaru's design team has fashioned a new look for the Impreza, adding more character lines, redesigning the taillights, and giving the hatchback a wider opening. Subaru has been on an extended sales hot streak, posting 8 consecutive years of record-breaking numbers. Demand for the new Impreza was up 33% in the first quarter of 2017 compared with sales of the previous generation a year ago, and its early adoption of Subaru's new platform makes the Impreza a perfect test case with which to evaluate the strength of the company's boom-time offerings. We selected, as most buyers will, a hatchback CVT version of the Impreza. The second from top sport trim may not be as universal a choice, but we were drawn to its torquey vectoring functionality, which seeks to capitalize on the Impreza's stiff-end structure for improved handling. The sport model also wears 18-inch wheels rather than the standard 16 inches. For $2,945, we added a power sunroof, an 8-speaker Harman Kardon audio system, and Subaru's EyeSight driver assistance package. Pre-collision warning with automated emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, and blind spot monitoring are all included in the EyeSight package. Choosing the CVT added $800 to our bottom line. Those options plus auto-dimming mirrors and all-weather floor mats brought the final tally to $27,605. The first weekend in our fresh Impreza brought a late winter snowstorm, the perfect playground for a Subaru. Fun was slightly limited as we were still accumulating break-in mileage, but the little subby was sure-footed on the slick, unplowed roads we encountered. With snow days now mercifully behind us, we hope the Impreza must rely on other traits to impress drivers. Thus far, its charms seem plentiful, with drivers almost universally complimentary about its solid ride and quick steering. Complaining about CVTs is a favored pastime of CD editors, but so far the Impreza's is mostly avoided comment, although that may change as the miles pile up. The cloth-upholstered interior and manual climate controls, we'd expect automatic controls at this price, have inspired the bulk of negative logbook comments and have been unfavorably compared with the finer fittings in our similarly priced long-term Honda Civic. We took the Impreza to the dealer at 688 miles for recall on the software that controls the cooling fan. The fix was quick and free, which we hope will set a tone for any future visits. With few miles on the clock, there's plenty of ground yet to cover in our long-term Impreza. Thousands of miles of summer road trips, morning drop-offs, and evening commutes undoubtedly will tease out issues large and small, so we'll see whether the Impreza deserves to surpass popcorn as a source of Hoosier pride. Annie White, what we like. We're 8 months and halfway through our lapis blue Subaru Impreza's 40,000-mile marathon. The Impreza's low beltline and generous sightlines tend to compensate for the car's low stance. Brake feel is good, if a little aggressive at first hit, and the steering is also appropriately weighted and accurate, with excellent on-center feel. The car is, however, no portrait of liveliness. Also drawing favorable comments, the Impreza's adaptive cruise control is subtle but vigilant, closely matching what would have been the driver's own reactions. When this hatchback's ear seats are flattened, the cargo bay is beyond generous. Items 60 inches long, even a little north of that, will slide into the Impreza's more. Outdoorsman intending to sleep back there will be disappointed, but if you bend your knees you could pull it off for an uncomfortable night or two. Well, one would be better. The rider handling trade-off shows evidence of conscientious engineers at work, with the car remaining flat and composed in all but the most spirited driving. There is a level of impact harshness, however, that borders on flinty, likely the result of those low-profile tires that look like rubber bands wrapped around thimbles. On the topic of ride, Most logbook comments lean toward the favorable, but it varies with the quality of road surfaces. Moreover, the front tires can wander distractedly when road surfaces become, shall we say, scrofulous. Buyer's Guide senior editor Rich Seppos summarized, "It feels like a lot of the lessons learned from making the WRX have filtered down to the civilian models." He's right, but that doesn't mean this Impreza is a joyful lark of sportiness. It isn't, especially as the fun-tow drive quotient tumbles further and further down the list of consumer priorities. Subaru noticed. The Impreza is more utile than frolicsome. What we don't like, saying that this continuously variable automatic transmission is better than most, is a little like saying that rattlesnake over the looks surprisingly friendly. Nonetheless, vast distances accrue without the CVT drawing attention to itself, and if it doesn't satisfy, then there's always the modest enjoyment of batting at the paddle shifters, pretending to row through 7 gears. What inevitably intrudes, however, is not only the expected but tolerable CVT drone, but also a whooshy jet engine exhaust note that is almost unbearable between 5,000 and 6,000 revolutions per minute. What happened to the old trademark flat for subby growl? Gone, all gone. Subaru has dialed in a level of throttle type in that can be abrupt, lending the car a faux sporty feel in stop-and-go traffic, and it takes some practice to compensate for it. Of course, if you dig deeply in the throttle, you'll discover there's nobody home. Notes in the logbook regularly echo a sentiment similar to this. With 50 extra horses, it would go as well as its appearance suggests. Some editors reckoned 20 extra horsepower would suffice, but no one has been satisfied with the 152 horsepower status quo. Subaru claims this car's ground clearance is 5.1 inches, but it sure looks less than that, especially on the P2-2540RT Yokohama Avid S34S. Remember, all-wheel drive is useful, but when snow accumulates deep enough to drag across a majority of the floor pan, the cessation of forward motion is often nigh. Which, of course, is an argument in favor of the Impreza's sibling, the Crosstrek. While we're picking nits, forget this car's $464 auto-dimming mirror package. Way overpriced. A Compass is in Lafayette, Indiana, really the dear? What went wrong? At 688 miles, the Impreza got off to a wobbly start, answering a recall to update the software controlling its radiator fan. But it's been a champ since. We've treated the car to 3 oil change general maintenance services for a total of $272, and we swapped its all-season rubber for Michelin winter tires at 15,000 miles. Nothing else has required mechanical attention, nor have we added any fluids. Where we went, our long-term Impreza has mostly performed myriad errands and short duty assignments around Ann Arbor, for which, arguably, this vehicle is best suited. It then visited southern Ohio and Virginia before crossing the country to serve at our official Montana desk in the Bitterroot Mountains, where its all-wheel drive became familiar with gravel roads and grades steep enough to depress sheep. In that service, the Impreza luckily avoided the worst of the mud and all but a few snowflakes. It did, however, wend its way to one of this country's best-preserved ghost towns, in Bannack, Montana, an unmolested array of bars, assay offices, brothels, the works, from which it returned as dust-encrusted as a dead cowboy's hat. The car further flourished throughout a week touring San Juan Island, off the Washington coast, where it served as an airy camera platform for photographing killer whales and seals. As we speak, the Impreza is back home in Michigan for winter, rooting for the Wolverines, whose traditional colors the Subaru half matches. John Phillips.
Yeah.